Hello and welcome everyone to my Java development with Spring Boot tutorial. Part 3. Add Java persistent configuration with MySQL database. First, we need to add a Spring Data JPA dependency. Let me correct this comment, it's incorrect. Support. So we add this dependency, but before we refresh the Gradle file, let's take a look at the actual dependency. So in here we can see that we don't have Hibernate core and Spring Data JPA draw files. So, but after we refresh the build.gradle file, we should see them. Because of this dependency, it will bring over for us those library. So now we can see Hibernate core 5.6.15 and Spring Data JPA right here. So we are now ready to create JPA repository interfaces. Next, we are going to add MySQL database connection dependency. And we refresh the Gradle file. Okay, so we also need to add a package named config. Now we are ready to create a configuration class. So we do new class. Yeah, consistent auto config. We need to annotate this class as a configuration. We need to tell it where the property source is from. So we need to annotate with the property source. We also need to enable JPA repository. Okay, so we tell Spring Boot that we tell Spring that the base package to scan is main.js. So we need to have that package. we also tell it that the entity manager factory reference is the game entity manager factory bean. So we are going to create that bean later in this configuration class. Also, we tell that the transaction manager reference is the game transaction manager. We also will create that bean in this class. Before creating game entity manager factory bean and game transaction manager bean, we are going to add the needed properties in the application properties file. In here, we configure the Spring JVA-8 DDL auto equal create. This value means that when the application starts up, it will drop the database and recreate it after. There are several values that we can use like above, non, create, date, like validate, and so forth. However, we should use DDL auto equal non on the production environment. And the next is the dialect. We are using dialect, MySQL 8 dialect, because I'm using MySQL version 8. And show SQL equal true means that it will generate the SQL statement in the log. We set to false means that no SQL statement in the log. Next is the database connection information. Notice that we are using data source in the middle with number 1 at the end. So the purpose is that we have a prefix of Spring data source 1. So this is a set of the database connection for database 1. So the idea is that in the future we may have more than one database connection. And the username is your user ID and the password is the password, straightforward. And the driver class name is I'm using MySQL database, so this is the value I need to use. And the JDBC URL is I'm running my MySQL database on my localhost machine on this default port 3306, and the database name is just. Now, let's go back to the configuration class. First, we need to create the data source bin. So in this data source bin, we are telling it that scan for this prefix properties. So which is the set of all property having that Spring data source 1. We already defined in action the property here. And get information like username, password, driver class, name, and JDBC URL. Next, we are going to create the game entity manager factory bean. Notice that the the bean annotation. So it says that this is a bean. So we need to supply the value of DL auto, dot, and dialect. Those values are from the application.property. So this is the key to get the value for that DDL auto. We can use a string annotation called value to get those values. We do the same thing for the dialect. And after all, we need to create the game transaction manager bean. That's it for the Java configuration class. Note that we set the packet to scan is main.entities.js. So all the entities belong to that JS database should reside in this package. So let's go ahead and create that package here. Also, we create the JS package under the servers. So all the services related to the JS database should reside in this JS package. We have a typo here. It's supposed to be the dialect. Let's start up the application. It's complaining about the Jaxby exception. We also need to add that Jaxby API dependency. started successfully. Now it says that it is initialized JPA Entity Manager Factory, and also it is using dialect MySQL 8 dialect. End of part 3. I hope that you find my video helpful and come back for other parts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Thank you. Bye-bye.